Hello everyone, it is time for a new video and today we're doing something very exciting, which is going to be putting together my fantasy TBR and specifically fantasy romance TBR. And I am thrilled about this because I have been, if you have been following me for any length of time, you would probably know that I've been in like a fantasy slump for a very long time. And I've been struggling to get back into it. Like, in theory, my favorite genre is like fantasy romance. But I don't really say romantasy because the way that it is these days is, I don't think in a way that really works for me. But that's a conversation for another day. Anyways, it's the details don't matter right now. The point is that like I was just like so lost in it and I knew that I could love it, you know, with like all my heart, but I have just not been able, first of all, like to find the right books for me, but also I've been too scared to read any of them anyways, you know, because like I do own fantasy books that I haven't read and I think I'm gonna love, but I just like have been too nervous of like not liking it or something that I haven't read them. So today we're gonna talk about the ones that I think I want to read as soon as possible and I think I'm gonna love, and it's just gonna be literally what I own. You know, there could be another video where I try to like buy new books and figure out what to get and all of that stuff. But today let's talk about what I have and what I think I should read very soon. The book that actually inspired me and threw me back into it is This Woman Kingdom by Tahar Mafi. I just read this and I adored every second. And so this absolutely was the main motivator for me to film this video and generally feel like I want more. And so since I just read that and devoured it, I did buy the other two books in the series. So I have these Infinite Threads and All This Twisted Glory. So I will be devouring these in like the next week. And there is another book coming in September as well. So that is definitely at the top of the TBR. Then I have my TBR card right next to me. So let's see what is on there. Next book I have here, I think I'm really gonna love, is Sinner's Isle by Angela Montoya. And also, actually, I do really want to find adult fantasy romance books the most, but again, I don't know if like it's hard for me to find the best ones because there's obviously been like a lot of new romantasy books, but a lot of it does not work for me. Again, conversation for another day. And I'm just kind of drowning in it and I don't know where to begin at the same time as well. So even though adult would be the best for me, I do still really enjoy YA fantasy, especially if there is a strong romance or found family. So I do have a lot of YA books, but I do also have some adult, like I do own a few. So yeah, anyways, so this one, first of all, someone compared this to like that it has vibes of Tangled, which immediately I was like, oh my god, hell yeah. And also, we basically have like a witch, and witches are loathed by society for their dangerous magic. And so the main character like flees to like a deserted island, and the love interest is the Prince of Pirates, and he ends up on the island where the main character is hiding, and you know, Sinner's Isle, and things go on from there. I do think this is supposed to be enemies to lovers. It says that there's high stakes adventure and dazzling passion, and so I think I'm gonna love this. And if I do love this, the author also has a vampire fantasy romance, and I think that it would of course be absolutely perfect to read in the fall, so I really hope I'm gonna love this. Then I have these two books, which is Cursed Crowns and Burning Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. So these are the sequel to Twin Crowns, and this is a fantasy book that I read maybe like a year ago, and I did actually really love. Two storylines that then of course merge in the end. And we have basically like twin sisters that don't know that the other exists, and one of them is a princess and the other one lives with other witches and very much more like in poverty, and the one that lives with the witches wants to take the place of the princess and like basically like kidnap her and become the queen. And there's also like two separate romances, definitely like very slow burn as like, you know, they're gonna like continue as the books go on. And yeah, it's just like this is a YA fantasy as well, but it's very solid. I love the main characters and like the side characters, the love interests, and it's just super fun, very addicting, fast-paced and all of that. And so These two are the sequels. As you can see, I did start this one at some point, but it was just not the right time. But hopefully it's the right time now, you know? And also I have these absolutely stunning sprayed edges. Then the next book I have here is actually an adult romance, and it is Mind and Magic by Jenna Wolfhart. So this is an indie fantasy romance series, and it is actually what I think is like a romance in a fantasy world. So very briefly, I'm just gonna say, like, the thing I don't think makes sense about romantasy from a romance reader perspective is that romance can be in many different subgenres, of course. So we have historical romance, which is a romance set in a historical time, and you know, the like romance is the main plot and historical is kind of like the, not like subplot, but it's like the setting and whatever, you know? And I feel like you know, then there's contemporary romance, paranormal romance, and so it feels like the right word is fantasy romance, because that's just how it works in other genres, you know? And so it also does not feel like, from what I've seen, that romantasy is actually a romance in a fantasy world, and that the romance is the main plot, because it feels like there's always a lot happening around it, and what it just means is that there is a romance. And so I do keep saying fantasy romance because that's just what it feels like. That's the right terminology, actually, when we go deep into it, but whatever. Anyways, so this is actually a series. Again, it works in the way that other romance things work, that every single book in the series follows a different couple, but it's set in the same world and it's connected and all that kind of stuff. So I did read the first book, Forged by Magic, and I really enjoyed it. It's basically described as like whimsical, cozy romantasy with a helping of spice and only a pinch of danger. So I feel like in the first half of that book, there was like more danger and high stakes in the second half of the book. But overall, like, yes, it is kind of lower stakes, but still not like super low. I do feel like there's like other cozy fantasy books that recently came out that like literally have no plot and no danger whatsoever. And so it does feel like a nice balance that, like, you know, there's things going on, there's some stakes, but it's nothing super, super intense. I do think I could read this soon because I do feel like standalones are obviously like easier to read in the sense of like you finish it and it's a complete story and there's a happy ending and all that kind of stuff, which is another thing that I question with the romantasy books, if there's actually going to be a happy ending. But again, that's a conversation for another day. So then I have this, The Witcherlies by Annalise Avery. And this I bought completely randomly because it has sprayed edges and a cute cover. So normally I don't do that. But I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do this because I never do that, and you know, maybe this is gonna be fun. And again, I was hoping it would motivate me to read fantasy. And so, I don't know. Obviously this is gonna be witchy, romantic fantasy. Ooh, debutante season. And okay, she teams up with her arch nemesis. And so there's like some magical season, which is giving me like historical romance vibes. So this might be like fantasy historical mashup situation, which I do really like, I think. So yeah, this honestly feels like the perfect fall read based on this cover. So I might read this a little bit later in like September, October. But I do want to read it very soon anyways. Then I have by T. Kingfisher. This has actually been on my TBR for maybe like 5 years when it first came out, I don't know, and I saw Talia Hibbert recommend this, and there's honestly no one I trust with recommendations more. And so I added it to my TBR, but like the stupidest reason why I think I have not read it is like the original covers. Something about that, like, just I really don't like, and it's like a specific feeling. It's not like a bad cover, but some like the feeling it gives me I did not like. But then it got published again in the UK with these beautiful covers, and this certainly motivates me a lot more. This is like, hell yeah, this is my vibe, adore it, and they're all gorgeous. So I have bought this, only the first one. I will hopefully love this book and then I'll buy the others. Yeah, it says that it's a darkly whimsical, cozy fantasy featuring sock-knitting paladins, badass perfumers, courtroom hijinks, and heart-racing romance. So I feel like this could be a really nice balance of like all the things of like plot, vibes, romance, and everything. And hopefully there's gonna be like a nice side characters. Ooh, there's a blurb that says that T. Kingfisher uses the bones of fairy tale to create something entirely her own, written in gloriously clear and transparent prose. So, okay. I think I'm gonna really love this, and I hope this is gonna happen soon. Captain of Fates by Catherine Weber. So this is like somehow connected to the Twin Crowns. but I think it's a standalone, and it's supposed to be like a pirate and mermaid story. A mermaid with a secret, a captain with an untamable heart, a curse bound in gold. So since obviously I did really enjoy the others, I did buy this, but I think obviously I was gonna read it before finishing the other series, but I feel like there could be spoilers or like it's kind of stupid, so I will read this when I finish those. But I'm really excited. I do really love mermaids, and I would love to read more books about that. Okay, then from a random pile in front of me, I have two books with beautiful covers. First of all is Divining the Leaves by Shweta Takrar. And this one was definitely a cover buy, but I've also heard India Halton recommend this, and the recommendation just sounded so good. It was basically like cozy fantasy, but it's supposed to be very whimsical and magical and beautiful, and that's absolutely what I want. There's obviously some kind of like nature earth magic. Ooh, it says that like the two main characters were friends once. So maybe like estranged friends to lovers. And a blurb here says, a charming book that feels like discovering an enchanted garden. And another one says, a coming-of-age story blends seamlessly with Indian mythology in this beautifully written novel. So I actually also need to find out if this is like urban fantasy or like fantasy. And the other one is The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. The amount of times I've mentioned this is unbelievable. And since I bought this book, like the paperback has come out and like so much has happened. This is supposed to be a sapphic romance. There's like honey magic, there's witchy things, and based on this cover I feel like I should read this in August. Like it feels like a summery fantasy book, and also it's supposed to be like historical fantasy as well. So now it's time to look at the shelves behind me. Specifically, I have a shelf up there that kind of has fantasy books. So the main ones that I think I'm gonna pick for now, all of them very nice and green covers. First of all, one that I think I'm absolutely gonna love is A Far Wilder Magic by Alison Saft. I did actually start this as well, and I read, oh wow, I read 74 pages. I thought it was a little less, and again, it was just my slump. You know, I was really loving this, but then I just put it down, and then like if I put a book down, like sometimes it happens to me that I'm like, I have to finish it, and then that feeling makes me not want to pick it up even though I know I'm gonna love it. So anyways, I need to just chill out and pick it up when it feels right, and I do think that's gonna be soon. Because this felt very like romantic, very like fairy tale vibes in the best way, and this is another YA fantasy romance, but I do think the romance is gonna be a very strong element, and there were some really funny moments in this so far. The two of them basically are gonna team up to like find this magical fox or something, and it's kind of like dislike to love, and I don't know, it had amazing vibes, and I think I'm gonna love this. So I definitely want to read this very soon. One that I've heard a lot of people talk about a while ago at this point is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, and this one is also like a historical fantasy romance, and the main character has like half a soul because she like, the first line here is, it's difficult to find a husband in Regency England when you're a young lady with only half a soul. So yeah, I don't know. I think this is also gonna have like maybe fairy tale vibes. And again, I've heard a lot of people say that they loved it, and so I should read it. And also, it is pretty short, and I think it's also standalone. And also, if I do love it, there's other books in the series. So yeah. And the third one is The Sunbearer Trials by Aidan Thomas. Absolutely love this cover, love Aidan Thomas. I adored Cemetery Boys back when I read it. I do want to read it again. It's basically about demigods, and there's like a competition. I think it was compared to like Hunger Games, but some other stuff. I think the pitch was like Hunger Games meets Percy Jackson. And like, I don't love the Hunger Games, not for me, but I feel like, you know, I'm gonna love this. Anyways, I love Aidan Thomas, and I feel like it's just, yeah, I love books about gods, demigods, anything. Like, there's something about it I love so much, and I feel like the magic of it is really interesting and fun. And so I think I desperately need to read this. And also, the sequel, honestly, might be out, or it's definitely gonna be out soon. So now I'm gonna take you to these shelves that I don't film in front of very often, and I feel like I haven't been looking at them as much as my other bookshelves, and so I think there's a lot of books that I'm missing that I like have not been noticing and paying attention to, even though I might want to read it soon. So let's see what we can find here. So this is like, this is all a mixture of books that I have read and haven't read. Okay, so bottom shelf is mostly like contemporary and stuff, but there are these two on there. which is Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. And of course, these are extremely hyped. So many people have loved them. And I do think I'm gonna love this as well. But this one is actually not like the very top of my TBR, only for the reason that I'm supposed to be buddy reading this with one of my besties, and I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. But it's gonna happen eventually. And if I promise someone a buddy read, I am not reading it alone. So yes, but I do think that these have immense potential, and I think I'm gonna love them. And I do know that Rebecca Ross has like a new book out, so maybe I gotta read that soon instead. So, on the top shelf, first of all, there is Belladonna by Adeline Grace, another YA fantasy romance. And I don't remember anything about this, but I did hear a lot of buzz about it as well. And I do think it's a duology, which I think I like a lot. It's like you get more than one book, but it's not as overwhelming as like a trilogy or more than that, of course. And it's supposed to be a romantic, gothic-infused world of wealth, desire, and betrayal. And yeah, I think it's gonna be very fun, and I do prefer the US cover, but this is cute, it's cozy, and I'm excited for this. Then I have The Marvelers by Danielle Clayton, and this one is a little different. I think this is urban fantasy, but I still want to include it in here because like I do of course want to read every kind of fantasy there is, paranormal, urban, whatever. This is also middle grade, I think. Okay, and it is the kind of like they basically go to like a magical school in the sky, and the main character is the first conjurer to attend the institute. She is accused of a terrible crime and her favorite teacher mysteriously disappear, and with her friends they're going to find a way to clear her name and track down her mentor before it's too late. So I feel like this is going to be like some high stakes but obviously still middle grade and just fun, like, you know, all that stuff. And so I do think I will enjoy this, and so I definitely want to pick this up as well. Then I have Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft. So of course another Alison Saft book, and this one is like a romance between, I forgot their name, but in the Tinkerbell movies there is like the Queen of Pixie Hollow and the Lord of the Winter Woods, and there's like the like sun and like winter dynamic, and I feel like it is an iconic couple. It's definitely crossed my mind when I watched those movies that, like, you know, I was like, there's something going on there, and I love for that to be romance, and this is what it is. So it is YA as well. I do wish it was adult, but obviously it makes sense. So I definitely want to read this as well. Then I have Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen, also something that I read a little bit of, and I think that this is gonna be fun and interesting, and there's like forbidden romance. I do think the sequel is also out of this, and yeah, captivating and sexy, everything you want in a fantasy romance, beautifully brutal, action-packed, and full of tension. Yeah, and this is adult fantasy romance, and so I definitely want to read this, and I hope I'm going to enjoy it. Then I also have The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I cannot believe that I still have not read this either. I think this whole series is out, and it's over, and I haven't read it. And so I was really intimidated. I was really intimidated by like how many people were talking about it, and at first I thought I would absolutely adore it, and then of course there were like mixed opinions, as like always when there's a very popular book, and so then I like panicked and I didn't read it, but I do think I'm gonna love this. And I love anything that's like found family, people teaming up, and especially if it's like outcasts and whatever. So 6 Extraordinary Magicians, 5 Chances to Win One Secret Society. And is this the book where like one person has to die or something like that? Maybe not. It's possible. So if that is the case, that definitely intimidated me as well because I don't want anyone dying. I'm gonna be reading it. Okay, and I think that the book, no, actually no, 2 more books. Then there is Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco, and I think this is adult as well. I think that like Carrie Maniscalco wrote other YA books, but this is like the first adult one, and I do need to check that. I can't really see it like clearly on here, but yeah, I don't know. Secret, spice, and a story I could not put down. Intrigue, danger, and fan yourself romance. Yeah, a wicked prince, a fallen painter, let the games begin. So, okay, a seductive standalone fantasy romance. Okay, that doesn't say adult. But it's standalone, so I did not know that. I thought this was a series. So that makes me more excited actually. So I think I really want to read this soon as well. And last but not least, I have The Crimson Moth by Kristen Cicerelli. This one is like a witchy romance and a hunted witch, a witch hunter, of course. Okay. And it's a duology. So yeah, enemies to lovers, of course. And so I think I'm gonna love this. I've also heard very good things about it. And so that's gonna be happening as well. So with that, I'm finally gonna stop talking. I feel like this video is gonna be longer than I anticipated, but it was fun to find all the books, and I am even more excited now to pick them up. So I don't really know where to start, but also please, please, please recommend me, tell me what books you recommend that are preferably adult fantasy, but again, YA is fine as well, as long as it has romance or found family or both. And yeah, so that's gonna be it. But expect vlogs where I actually read fantasy books, because it's happening. Finally, it's been too long in the making, but the time has come. So I will stop talking, and if you made it this far in the video, leave any kind of emoji that makes you think of fantasy books. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'm gonna see you soon in another video. Bye!